Hi, everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm your host, Anthony Pastore. Thanks for being here with us. In addition to your salary, you may be eligible for a variety of different work benefits, including retirement savings plans, equity awards, and, for our topic for today's show, health insurance. We're going to provide today some thoughts for you on selecting health coverage and how to fund those sometimes unexpected out-of-pocket expenses. And here to have this discussion with me are my colleagues from the Chief Investment Office, Ainsley Carbone and Justin Waring. Wonderful to see both of you. Ainsley, thanks for being here in the studio with us. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, Justin. So, Ainsley, let me start with you. Investors, what should they be keeping in mind when they're selecting their healthcare coverage through their employer? Because there are a lot of choices out there.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of choices out there, and you really want to make sure, of course, thinking about the costs, because you need to make sure it's going to be able to fit into your family's budget. So in order to do so, you need to look beyond just the sticker price. So what I mean by that is look beyond just considering the premium that's taken out of your paycheck every pay period. You want to consider all the costs that you could possibly be exposed to throughout that benefit period. So one instance where we find this to be particularly important is when you're sitting down and you're considering whether or not you should be in a high deductible health plan or a low deductible health plan. So the deductible, to start with, is the amount that you're going to have to pay, or the expenses that you'll have to pay out of pocket before your health plan begins sharing costs with you or splitting those costs with you. So with a higher deductible health plan, you're going to have much lower premiums, but you'll have to pay more out of pocket before the plan begins sharing costs with you. Mm-hmm. So I think I want to go through an example. You can see it here on the screen. So what we're showing, the lines here, it's showing two hypothetical health plans, one a low deductible, one a high deductible, and it's essentially showing the amount of out-of-pocket costs and premiums that you could incur throughout the year. So it's essentially your total cost throughout the year for various levels of medical expenses. So you can see at the beginning, the high deductible health plan, the lower premiums make it less costly overall for lower amounts of medical services. But as you incur more and more services throughout the year, if in fact it's a year where you need more, then it gets to a point where you could actually have a much higher cost overall throughout the year than if you were to choose that low deductible plan. So bottom line, looking at the sticker price alone, it's going to look like a plan that could seem less expensive, mm-hmm. but overall it could be something that's more expensive. So obviously we have no idea what our costs are going to be throughout the year. So the best thing to do is really just make sure that you're thinking about all the costs that you could be exposed to throughout the year on that plan for them, and then that way you can be prepared in the event that you do need a lot of medical expenses throughout the year, mm-hmm. and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah, there are certain scenarios, right? If you're someone who is young and healthy and has no real medical issues, maybe a high deductible plan might be better for you because you don't really have that many medical expenses as you sort of anticipate coming up. But somebody with a large family, a lot of kids, or maybe there's some medical history, something that you are dealing with, maybe a low deductible plan might be better for you in that scenario. But as you said, you've got to really look through your own individual situation and work the numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Ainsley. Justin, so let me ask you, how should someone plan for and fund some of these out-of-pocket medical expenses throughout the year? Because some of these expenses might be expected, and of course there may be some that are unexpected. So how do you prep for that?
One of the things that we like to look at is a flexible spending account, or an FSA. This is a tool that you can use to deduct the cost of your out-of-pocket medical expenses and basically make sure that you're paying for those expenses using pre-tax dollars. One of the advantages of this is that you're able to basically afford your medical costs at a lower overall cost. But there is a problem with FSAs, which is that they have a use it or lose it provision. Most, if not all, of the funds that aren't spent by the end of the year will be lost outright. And so, as you mentioned, there are some medical expenses that are going to be known and some that are going to be surprise or unexpected expenses. And so we recommend erring on the side of caution, contributing funds to your FSA that represent the amount that you know you're going to have to spend that year. So, for example, prescriptions and other medical expenses. And then, basically reducing the risk that you're going to end up with funds that you lose at the end of the year. Now, another strategy that is really important for investors and families to think about is a health savings account. So unlike flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts are best used as a tool for long-term investing. this is where we contribute funds that are going to not be used this year. HSAs are triple tax advantage, meaning that you can contribute pre-tax dollars. The growth of your investments are tax-free, and you can withdraw, for qualified medical expenses on a tax-free basis. So HSAs are better for investment strategy than any other account type, including IRAs and 401ks, when it comes to growing savings for the long term on a tax-efficient basis. So for HSAs, unlike FSAs, we recommend contributing as much as you can each year and investing it for long-term growth. We generally recommend against tapping into your HSA funds until retirement. That way you can get the maximum potential benefit from the tax-free growth, and you can use these HSA funds to fund your medical expenses in retirement, which are likely to be a quite large share of your retirement spending.
Terrific. Thank you, Justin. Yes, it's always good to know the differences, certainly with HSA versus an FSA. And you did talk about the tax advantages, but also in a high deductible plan, that HSA, and you have it for the rest of your life, which is something that an FSA, like you said, use it or lose it. So it's certainly, again, you have to weigh the options and what's best for your personal situation. Thank you, Justin. Ainsley, human capital is something else that people generally don't think about when making choices about a healthcare plan, for example, which technically is described as future earnings potential in an individual, right? So how does one go about protecting human capital, and what options may we have to kind of, work to protect it, in other words?
So first I want to talk about why it's so important to protect it. So as you said, human capital represents the value of our future earnings potential. So at the beginning of our careers, as you can see on the screen here, it's going to show that at the beginning of our career, when you haven't really had much time to earn any money and save that money, our financial assets are going to be pretty minimal. But as you progress through your career and you're able to continue to save more and more, save and invest more and more of your earnings, you're able to grow that financial capital. So relative to the beginning of it, when you're looking at the beginning of your career, you're going to have a lot more human capital relative to financial capital. As you're turning the human capital into financial capital, human capital then begins to take up a smaller and smaller portion of your total wealth. So from your family's perspective, human capital is an income source that they rely on for current and their future expenses. And that is really why it's so important for us to protect it, because we need to protect that income source that's going to provide for the family. So if you really think about it, permanent or even temporary periods of unemployment or not being able to earn an income, whether you're sick or you have an accident where you're no longer able to work for a period of time, that can really be a lot of damage to our financial situation if we don't have anything set up to help back us up. So fortunately, some employers do offer two benefits that might be available. The first one being disability insurance. This is where it typically pays a portion of your income in the event that you are sick or have an accident and are not able to work. Second benefit that may be available is life insurance, and that would pay out a lump sum benefit to your survivors in the event that you pass away prematurely. So not every employer is going to offer these benefits. If you do not have these benefits available to you, that does not mean that you do not need them. So we recommend just speaking with a financial advisor to make sure that you can work with them to figure out whether you have the right amount of coverage and if you need to be purchasing coverage elsewhere.
How many people do you know have said along the way, oh, I'm good, I'm healthy, it can't happen to me, I'm fine, and they opt out of disability, and then all of a sudden they have some freak, accident or something that just even takes them out of work for a couple of weeks or months, and they go, I wish I would have just done it. And usually it's fairly inexpensive. A lot of it is pre-tax, so there's something to be said for making sure you have disability coverage, especially if your employer offers it. Thanks, Ainsley. Justin, when it comes to the human capital, what steps should we be taking, though, to actually protect it?
Yeah, it's a really important question. And obviously, insurance plays a really big part here. As Ainsley mentioned, your human capital is a stream of income that your family needs to pay for current and future living expenses. And about a quarter of workers experience disability at some point during their working years. And unfortunately, about 7% of workers will pass away before they reach retirement. And this means that, we really need to figure out every year If I were to become disabled or if I were to unfortunately pass away, how much would my family need to get by without me? And then take a look at the insurance coverage that you had the previous year and determine, is there a gap between those numbers? This can be a difficult conversation to have with your family. Can be a difficult decision to make. And so we definitely recommend working with your financial advisor during this process. They can help you consider all your options and develop a strategy that gives you the confidence that your family's protected and that they'll be taken care of no matter what happens to you. And this will allow you to live your life, sleeping well at night.
Exactly. Justin, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. It's always good to get you both here every year because I know this is not the first time you've talked or written about this particular topic. So great to have this updated version with you. Good to see you both. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Ainsley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. And thank you all for joining us. For more information and access to some of the recent research from Justin and Ainsley and the rest of the Chief Investment Office, you can visit our website at ubs.com/views. And make sure to follow us on social media. We've got content on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Plus, all of our past UBS Trending episodes, just like this one, are available for you to watch on demand. And if you have any questions, as Justin and Ainsley always say, make sure to reach out to your own financial advisor, especially when it comes to your portfolio. Until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. Have a great day, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon.